Welcome back to another episode of the Wealth Building for Dummies podcast. My name is Kyle Demian, and I'm joined with Renji Matthew as always. And in this episode, we're going to be talking about some of the mental barriers that you'll have to go through. Specifically, we're going to give our instances in business and investing and starting to build wealth and on our pursuit and on our journey to building and getting to financial freedom. We're specifically going to talk about two different mental barriers we've both had to come across and how we've gotten over that and or worked through it, and maybe even we're still working through it, right? And the two of those being, number one, how to stop worrying about what other people think about you, and then secondly, the imposter syndrome. And the imposter syndrome is simply just feeling as if you're not enough or you're not worthy for whatever you're pursuing or whatever you're doing. Maybe it's receiving an accolade, maybe it's, starting your own business, maybe it's being brought up onto stages to speak where you just don't feel as if you're enough compared to everybody else that maybe has spoken before you, right? So we're going to talk about those two barriers. And Renji, I want to kick it over to you, and you pick, I guess which one that you want to start with, and let's just kind of start talking through them, how you've dealt with it, how you've overcome it, or maybe how you're still dealing with it and overcoming it too. So which one do you want to start with?
Well, I guess we can talk about not worrying about what others think, and I think that's something that everyone struggles with. Even when people say, oh, I don't ever care, it always creeps up, I think. And because I used to be one of those people, I used to say, oh, I don't care what people think, but it always comes up, especially growing up Indian, from India. In our culture, most everyone goes into either the medical field or engineering or something that's related to one of those, right? So for me, getting into business, it was totally different mind shift I had to make, in the sense where I grew up, it's like, okay, always save, don't ever spend money on things that you don't need to, only spend money on what you have to spend money on and stuff like that. So going from that to, okay, I have to get into debt, like a mortgage is a debt, which for some reason we're okay with that debt, but we're not okay with going into debt with properties, rentals, and stuff like that, where others are paying that, to build wealth. So having that mind shift change was huge. And so what we ended up doing, me and my wife, we didn't tell people. We got into doing different types of business stuff without telling people. And then I didn't actually tell my parents about real estate until we had several properties and we could show income. Because at that point, what are they going to say? Oh, it's not going to work. They're not going to say that. It's already there, right? So that's kind of what we had to do. And so it's something we don't tell people much about unless they ask us, or stuff like that, or if it comes up in conversation, because we got to a point where, like, we don't care for people to know what all we're doing. We just we've gotten to the mindset of, hey, we can live in a small house, don't look like we have money, kind of thing, and just live frugally so we can actually give more to whatever we want to give to, and different things like that. We want to be the type of people that can give to people and bless them without them knowing it's from us. There's a phrase in the Bible that says, don't let your right hand know what your left hand did, or it's the left hand know what the right hand did, or whatever. And don't ask me what reference it is. But yeah, that's kind of how we want to be. We want to be able to bless people without them knowing it's from us, right? And then on going to, I guess before we go into the imposter syndrome, take us to what your thought process was and what you went through.
I like what you said there, because you went to and found your purpose. That's part of your purpose and one of the things that you want to do. And that's how you were able to, for you, stop worrying about what other people think. And my aspect and my viewpoint on it is, too often we always think that other people are watching us or critiquing us or judging us. But the truth of the matter is nobody really cares about you. Nobody really cares about what other people are doing. quite frankly, like everybody thinks that they have this spotlight effect on them, so much so that I think I have a spotlight on me. You think you have a spotlight on me. Our viewers think they have a spotlight on them, and everybody thinks that they have a spotlight on them, so much so that nobody is paying attention to what any other person is really doing. So the whole idea of people, caring about what other people think is almost kind of silly, because nobody's worried about anybody else other than their own problems. We all have our own problems. So I finally realized that after, going through a lot of high school and college myself, I was worried constantly about what other people thought of me. And it actually gave me like a social anxiety where I was very, very nervous and out in public or speaking to people, especially public speaking. And it led me to a point where I was succumbing to my goals, and I wasn't pursuing my goals. But how did I get over that? I think I just had really good mentors, a good support system. You and Will, another one of our mentors that we've had together. You guys kind of pushed me to keep getting better. I saw you guys doing well and doing awesome things, and I knew that if you guys could do it, I could do it too. And then I think this worry of what other people are going to think about you holds a lot of people back from starting their own business, from pursuing their goals, from people even maybe leaving their job. They're afraid how their coworkers are going to view them if they quit and go start up this other business, like that people might make fun of them or something. Like, I think that is the number one thing that holds people back from pursuing their dreams. And what you've got to realize is that those other people, I don't know, they aren't paying your bills. Their opinions just don't have any merit and don't affect your life in any way. The only thing that matters is you and your family. So that's what helps me get through it. Just realizing that and I guess to my purpose, to what I want to do and to where I want to be 10, 20, 30 years from now. We talk about writing down your goals, and when you can keep your purpose and your goals in front of you, a lot of the times, like, that's what helps pull you through these uncomfortable phases you go through in life. It's really uncomfortable turning on the camera and starting to post stuff online for social media. It can be really uncomfortable starting your own business and starting something brand new. And with that, you just have to do it, take one step at a time, and then focus on the end goal and your purpose. And a lot of the times that'll help pull you through it. But also just taking the baby steps, just kind of getting out there, especially if it's like turning on the camera. Just try it once, right? Record something and post it online. You're probably not going to get any likes. You're probably not going to get any comments your first time, but you survived, right? And I think that's the biggest thing. Just knowing that you can take some of these steps and you can survive, and then you can continue on and continue growing. That would be how I would say to, stop worrying about what other people think. Then into imposter syndrome. You were kind of talking to me before the show about, an event that you had. If you want to, feel free to share that, because I think it's good to be vulnerable and talk about your experiences. So take us through imposter syndrome, Renji.
Yeah. So the most recent one was last year. I had won an award with the company, and I was on stage because I was one of the top 10 people that did so much in
He was one of the top,
something like that.
You're too humble. He was one of the top 10 producers across the entire country. Let's put it like that.
Yeah, and it was crazy because I knew the numbers and all that stuff, but it just never hit me until they handed me the award and I'm walking up the stage, and I kept thinking, it's like, this can't be real. This is not, it's not me or whatever, and I think I'm dreaming or different things like that. And I remember going back to what Kyle was talking about being nervous of posting something or, of what other people think, different things like that. And I remember when I was younger, it might have been middle school or starting high school or something. There was this speech competition that was going on, and I don't know what I was thinking. I was like, oh, let me try this. And, because I had never been in front of people doing a speech or whatever. And I remember going up there, and I had a great speech set up and everything. I just didn't know how to end it. when I got in front of everyone, I got so nervous. I literally just read my speech, and then I didn't know how to end it, so I just stood there. I stood there long enough to where they clapped, and then I still stood there, and then someone came and said, "You can come off now." And that's how nervous I got. And I remember ever since then, I always had a really bad fear of public speaking. And then so last year, going back to being on stage with the award, when they came to every person and asked a question, I was like, when they asked the first person, I was like, okay, I know exactly what I'm going to say. I'm going to start sound smart, all this stuff. Got to me and I blanked. And I was like, huh? What did you ask me? And I remember thinking, I was like, okay, I'm going to go home and I'm sure I'll be on stages more. And now I believe it's like, okay, God's brought me to this far. I'm going to keep going further. I just have to get better myself. I have to prepare myself mentally, physically. I have to read more, listen to more podcasts, go live more. That's why we started going live more. And we made it a fact of, okay, we're going to do this. It wasn't like, okay, don't care about what other people think. I might suck. I might be horrible on camera. Doesn't matter. The more you do it, you get better and better at it. And that's true with anything you do. Anytime you get into business, anytime you talk to people. I still remember the first time I was on Zoom, and it was somebody that made a lot of money, and they were coming to me to ask me about different things. And I remember, I remember changing my shirt afterwards because I was sweating through my shirt because that's how nervous I got. But now it doesn't matter who I'm talking to. I'm not nervous anymore like I used to be because I know what I'm talking about. I know I've helped so many people. So I'm not doing anything that's going to hurt anyone. I'm actually helping people. Mostly what we both do is educating people, right? So it's providing value for them. And if I'm not doing that, where are they going to go for that? They might go to somebody that might take advantage of them. And we don't need that. And we talked about the other day why we got into what we did. And for me, it was my parents. So when I talk to other people, it's like I'm helping my parents. I'm helping them, educating them on what's out there, because this is stuff we should have been taught when growing up, right? So it's about not caring what other people think and knowing, hey, if you did the work, you deserve it. Don't think, oh, I don't deserve this. Like, you did the work. You deserve it to be where you're at. You deserve to be in the places God's taken you to. You deserve to get the accolades that God's given you. Yes, you can be humble and not be egotistical. We talked about this too. If I didn't go through those struggles that I went through, I would probably be such a big egotistical maniac. You know what I mean? So there's reasons you go through things. There's reasons you have those visions that God places in your mind because you're supposed to be there to help so many more people. And if you don't take those actions, you don't take those steps because you're too worried about what other people think, you're not ever going to get to the purpose you were meant to live. And that purpose was probably meant to change so many people's lives. And you're not going to be able to do that if you're too worried about what other people think.
Yeah. That's, I didn't expect them to kind of merge together and almost become one of the same, but how you just put it makes a lot of sense, is they do kind of go hand in hand. And a couple of thoughts I had while you were speaking is that, everybody has their own story. Sometimes imposter syndrome is simply, thinking about all the other people that are maybe in your same space. They're just further ahead than you, or they're more advanced, or they're better than you, right? But everybody has gone through the steps of being a newbie, right? Being brand new into a space. And then it just takes time to build the expertise, to build up credentials, to build up experience. And that's just something you can't necessarily skip past, So while you're beginning, sure, don't compare yourself to your end goal or somebody that you really, really look up to. But just know that, like, as time goes on, and especially if you're documenting your process and you're staying true to the path that you're going down, like, at some point, you are going to be an inspiration to somebody else. So while, you are still inspiring to be somebody else, there's somebody that's just getting started that's now looking up to you. And if you ever get invited onto these stages, if you ever get invited to do something that's uncomfortable, or you go to something that's uncomfortable, I was watching a podcast the other day, and it's great. It talks about like being uncomfortable in the moment is exactly what you need to be doing to get to the future you that you want to be, or the future goal that you want to have. And so imposter syndrome can sneak up where you don't feel valid, or you don't feel like you belong in whatever it is that you're doing. But at some point, if you're there, you belong, and you're probably not the only person in that room that feels that way. But if you get in these rooms, if you get in on these stages, I guess, right? If you get into whatever it is and you're having the imposter syndrome, just know that you're not the first person to ever be exactly where you're at. There's other people that have walked that path as well. Sometimes it just takes us getting a little bit uncomfortable for us to actually be able to level up. Right. And with that, Renji, I think that's all I got to add. I don't know if you have anything else.
Yeah, as you were talking, I was thinking, everyone's journey is different. Everyone's journey is their own. They're going to have their own processes, their own difficulties, their own struggles that they go through to get to where they need to be, right? And something I had to learn the hard way, and I've heard from so many people, is stick to something for 6 months to a year before you give up, right? For me, I jumped into so many businesses in the past, and as soon as some difficulty came across, I gave up or quit. But what I learned is, like I think you mentioned before, you got to develop that craft. You got to get better at whatever you're trying to do. So if you stick to something for at least 6 months or more, you're going to get better. You're going to have to learn to be successful. You're going to learn what all you need to do, what all you need to figure out to get better at it. Otherwise, you're just going to be stuck where you're stuck. And that 6 months was a waste, right? So you got to stick to something for at least 6 months, learn what all you can learn to get better. And then see if it doesn't work. Hey, it didn't work, but at least if you were working to get better, you are a better person for it. Now, next time you get into something, you know how to do something even better, and you're gonna make that process better and better, right? So I think don't give up on yourself. Stick to something long enough, and everybody's journey is different. It might have been harder for some people. It might seem so easy for some people, but their struggle might be somewhere else. Right. So everyone has to go through some kind of struggle. It might just be in different areas for different people.
Absolutely. I like that. So yeah, to those of you that are watching, hopefully you got something out of this video. Hopefully this inspires some of you to go out there and to take action and to get uncomfortable. That's a lot about what entrepreneurship is, just constantly getting uncomfortable. And with that, I think that's a good end of our show today. Thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and then share this with your friends. And we'll see you guys on the next episode. Take care.